Evening all, how are you? I'm doing okay. Yeah, I had a birthday and here's a little birthday balloon tied to a standard lamp. So if the news gets a little bit too depressing or upsetting, I can just play with the balloon. So let's crack on with this week's event. So imagine you're somebody who's in the public eye. Maybe you are somebody who's in the public eye watching this. And, you have to deal with journalists, you have to deal with members of the public asking you questions. So you've got to think fast on your feet, haven't you? You've got to not only have your answer, your point of view ready to go, but the optics are really important as well. Get that message across and don't look like a weirdo or a complete nutter in the process, even though the person asking you the question may be a complete nutter themselves. So let's go to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's recent press conference, or it was some kind of public event where she was speaking. And she's speaking about her usual things of climate change. And I can't do AOC's voice. I mean, I need a bit more Brooklyn in there. But a young lady in the audience got up and started saying that we have to eat babies. There's an overpopulation. We've only got months to live. And so if we're going to survive, we're going to have to start eating babies. Now, what do you do if you're AOC? Right. Now, there have been many theories of who this woman is. First of all, was it grade A trolling? Well, it looks like it could have been. She had this T-shirt made up, and it was such a ludicrous thing. She was saying, only months to eat, and if we're going to survive, we're going to have to start eating the children and eating babies. So there was a suggestion that this woman was perhaps a troll, somebody who's doing a wind-up, some kind of dare, and trying to trick AOC and the audience into thinking she was genuine, or she was somebody with genuine mental health issues. But yeah, AOC, just imagine you're this public figure. How do you deal with somebody just getting up at an event you're giving and putting across such a crazed lunatic idea like that? Now, here's what I would have done. I said, okay, now we got to start eating the babies because we're all going to die and all that. Okay. Yeah, no, can I just stop you there? Under no circumstances, things are bad. Okay, we do have to take action and immediate action, and there are going to have to be some big changes. But we're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be eating babies. We want to save babies. We want to make things better, so when they grow up, they are not living in a kind of bleak, desolate landscape. So no. I've got to stop you there, ladies. Okay, security. Okay, that's how I would have handled it. But AOC is like, okay. Well, the thing is, we've got a few years, not a few months to live. Okay. Thank you for your question. Right, nowhere was the condemnation. There was absolutely no condemnation with AOC on this. Bad optics. Makes you think with all this stuff about, crazy Swedish scientists. Yes, they might have to start consuming the human flesh in order to survive into the next millennium. Yeah. But the war on children, the children on the left seem to fulfill two categories. Either they're activists doing the job of adult activists, or they're food. How did we get to this? Anyway, the left are at war with two ends of the age spectrum. They're at war with babies, as we now know. And they're also at war with old people. I almost did it again. Stop that. It's a hate sign now. So they're at war with old people. Well, we've seen it all before with the rabid Remainers who just think, old people, you need to strip them of their vote. And you need to shove them in state-funded care homes where they'll be pumped full of, I don't know, soup and drugs. But, if that's not immediate enough, no, Antifa have the answer. And that is, you've got to take the fight to the streets, to the old people, because they're the Nazis, okay? The old people are the Nazis. But they fought the Nazis. No, they're the Nazis. Well, they fought in Korea. Yes, against communists. Nazis. Okay. So, You may have seen this story. This happened out in Canada. Dave Rubin's doing a live show at the university with the lead. He's a Libertarian Party leader. I can't remember the exact acronym for the party, but essentially a very libertarian Canadian political party led by Maxime Bernier. And they're just having their usual to and fro, the Rubin style. That's very interesting. I agree. But, Rubin's kind of very, nice guy. Routine, just letting people talk, letting them expand upon their ideas, and letting the audience judge. But that's not good enough for Antifa. So Antifa were protesting, and there was some violence. But the bit that caught most people's attention was this elderly couple crossing the road. And this old lady who needed like a Zimmer frame. I think it looked a bit more upgraded. It looked like it had power Zimmer frame. But she's crossing the road. And these Antifa demonstrators are right in their face. They're getting in the way, trying to prevent her from crossing the road, and calling her Nazi scum and swearing at her. And the old man that's with her, just going, can we just calm down? Can we just move aside so me and presumably his wife, or maybe they're just friends, can we just cross the road? Don't you beep touch me. Don't you beep touch me. So it was interesting looking on social media, seeing how the left would justify this. Disgraced former supply teacher Mike Stutchbury, all the way from Germany, on his pilgrimage to the German Democratic Republic. That's absolutely terrible, but that does not take away from their message that fascism must be fought in the neighbourhoods, on our streets. That's where, there are going to be some casualties like this little old lady, but in the greater good, the greater cause, Dave Rubin must be smashed, stopped. Yeah. So this is, again, this is a terrorist organisation, and everybody's just got to wake up and realise it's a terrorist organisation that is populated by the most whiny, insufferable, irritating people. These people want to be the Baader-Meinhof gang, but they'll never be the Baader-Meinhof gang. Those guys were seriously hardcore, the Baader-Meinhof gang. And, these guys are just I don't know, they're inbred descendants. But, when the Baader-Meinhof gang struck, they knew who to target. I'm not defending the Baader-Meinhof gang, by the way. I'm just saying that they were terrifying. They were one of my childhood fears, that were going to come along and blow up my school or the street I lived in. But they were hardcore. Who they targeted, businessmen, diplomats, that kind of thing. These guys, a little old lady, let's harass her and let's be the big man. Sigh. Well, let's bring this back to UK shores now. And the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, earlier on this week, criticised people for criticising the Supreme Court and their decision. People saying, the Supreme Court has shown its political biases. It has ventured into territory it had no right of venturing into, and it's created a constitutional crisis now that the law courts can step in and override the executive and Parliament. Well, Justin Welby said, no, you shouldn't do that, because we have these really impartial, world-renowned courts that are beyond reproach. Oh, really? Well, other than the fact that most Queen's counsels seem to be mad these days, I was having lunch with my wife the other day, and we were talking about law, and as we do. She's a lawyer, she's a solicitor, and we talking about these QCs like Joe Morn and Jessica Simons, and she said, "Oh no, most of them are complete nuts." You have these solicitors preparing these intricate cases, and they think, yeah, we've got a slam dunk here. They hand it over to the barrister, and it just all goes to pot. She said, "Oh no, they're mostly bonkers." But Lady Hale this week, one of the members of the Supreme Court, started bragging about her judgment in the recent prorogation case that came before them, and she was taking jibes and pot shots at Boris Boris Johnson's comments about girly swat. He said, "Oh, I was a girly swat," and she seemed very partisan indeed. And people are rightly criticising. The mask, the veil has slipped. That she's revealing her biases. So, right, well, she should resign, shouldn't she? I mean, in previous years, anybody caught doing that would resign, wouldn't they? Apparently not. So, this is just more confirmation for the general public, people at large. Even Dan Hodges admits that the Supreme Court is being a bit biased in this one. Not the Archbishop of Canterbury. The Church of England has been well and truly infiltrated. Anyway, what else? Rory Stewart, he of the kind of Willem Dafoe after he's been through a tumble dryer. He has announced this week that he's standing down as MP, and he'll be quitting Westminster. Happy days are here again. But he's announced that he's going to run as an independent candidate for the mayor of London, considering he represented a constituency that was far away in England as possible from London, and the fact that London isn't his hometown, isn't his base or anything like that. He may have visited it once, but he's running for London mayor. And of course the worry is, people on the right, is that slowly and surely the support for Sean Bailey, the Conservative candidate, is growing because people are annoyed and angry at Sadiq Khan, and they see a chance to topple him. But now here comes Rory Stewart, and we're going to get a split vote on the centre and the right. As he will do his normal, "Hi, I'm Rory. Can I talk to you? Can I talk to you about things? Can you share your opinion with me?" Well, I'm in favour of Brexit, and I think the EU has encroached, and I think the Conservative Party should be a little bit more conservative and not bow to every progressive idea that's out there. No, I don't understand what you're talking about. Sorry. Vote for me. So the worry now is that the vote's going to get split between Sean Bailey and Rory Stewart, whereas really you need a united front. But this is always going to be a difficult one to try and topple Sadiq Khan, because he's got a very inbuilt base of support. He is playing the migrant vote card to its hilt. He's also got the Remain card that he can play, although these days being part of the Labour Party might be seen as a toxic brand for his candidacy, and you might see support going to a Liberal Democrat candidate, for example. But certainly Rory Stewart kind of throwing his hat into the ring, I think, has tipped the scale slightly in Sadiq Khan's favour, even though Rory Stewart commands some media admiration. Although that slipped this week, because there he was being interviewed on the BBC, and you got Sean Bailey, a kind of man of Afro-Caribbean descent, and Sadiq Khan, man of Asian descent. And here comes the white Rory Stewart, and the BBC's line of questioning are, "So you're trying to detract the vote away from an Asian candidate and a black candidate, for your white candidacy?" And Stewart, yeah, I was with him on this one, was like, what? And I was thinking that, what? For one moment, for one scintilla of moment, I had sympathy for Rory Stewart. My balloon. Right, I need another 98 of those. Okay, so also in the news, Extinction Rebellion. Yes, they've had two stunts this week. The first stunt was that they got hold of an old fire engine, decommissioned fire engine, and they decided to fill the water tanks with fake blood. So apparently it was water mixed with beetroot juice, beetroot dye, to create fake blood. And so they went outside the Treasury, Her Majesty's Treasury in Whitehall, and powered up the old hose, aimed it at the side of the building, and for about 2 seconds the fake blood was hitting the side of the building until the fire nozzle got loose. It just flew off, and they lost control of the hose that they were holding, and it started flailing around. And Extinction Rebellion, you know, the all the eco warriors, they were quick on social media saying, "We drenched Her Majesty's Treasury with fake blood." No, they actually drenched the road and the curb. They did not. They got one streak across the Treasury building. And it just everybody was laughing at them because, you know, they clearly didn't know how to handle the machinery. It looked like they hadn't tested it before. They didn't attach the hose nozzle on properly. They didn't hold on to it properly, and they just looked all kind of flapping and flailing, and it was just became a figure of mockery. But, you know, in terms of optics, they've got to get this one back. So they decided to have another protest, and that is to swarm around Lambeth Bridge area and shut it, try and shut access into London for whatever reason. There's already a congestion charge zone. Not many people drive there. Most people are being eco and getting onto a more ecologically friendly bus, packed shoulder to shoulder, trying to get to work. But where they had put the protest was very near the access to St Thomas's Hospital. And an extraordinary thing happened when they were giving these protesters or representatives of these protesters were giving an interview with the BBC. They said they would choose who would get into the hospital. So people say, "Aren't you going to block accident and emergency?" No, we'll decide who to let through to the hospital and who not. So they might say, okay, ambulances with sirens and lights flashing, okay, they can go through. That's clearly an emergency. But they've forgotten about what most people go to hospital for. Some people are visiting sick relatives in hospital. Those relatives might be very ill indeed, very serious conditions. And so people need access to that hospital. Doctors, staff, how it all functions, need access to that hospital. Most patients, when they go in there, they are going to see a consultant or a specialist, and they will have, under the NHS system, they will have booked that appointment months in advance, and you're waiting months to get to see a consultant or a specialist. And when you get into London, these idiots are blocking access off, and you go, "No, but I've got to get in there. Look, I may be in a car, but it's got a disabled badge. I need to get in there to see this consultant." And they'll deem you unworthy and turn you away. And then it's another few months of waiting for another slot. This is just idiotic. Everything about what the Extinction Rebellion protests have done this week has been idiotic. Bad optics, alienating the general public, who think of them as a joke at best, and at worst they think of them as a kind of a serious, antisocial, borderline criminal group. But keep getting free passes on television. They'll just keep going unless the law intervenes. So that was that.
Balloon, oh sweet red balloon, who comforts me in my time of need and worry.
Anyway, let's end this week on the Liberal Democrats, who are compiling a database of voters across the United Kingdom. They're making a list, yes, and they're checking it twice. They're going to find out who's naughty and nice, or who's a Lib Dem supporter and who's naughty. And this has worrying implications, not least that since Jo Swinson has become leader, she is doing her very best to move away from being either a Liberal or a Democrat as fast as she possibly can. And this has worried a lot of people that they're creating a database and profiling voters. Now, some people defending the Liberal Democrats say, oh, all political parties are doing this. But surely if you're the Liberal Democrats, you want to stand out from the crowd and say, no, we will never profile the voters because we are Liberal and we are Democrat. And let those authoritarian parties do that. But no, because the Lib Dems want to prove that they are the biggest authoritarians of them all. No, they're going to have their database. So One recommendation that's been made is for everybody to write to the Lib Dems and, using freedom of information, get the Liberal Democrats to disclose what they have on you. And that might be an interesting thing. Hopefully there'll be some backlash. Hopefully there'll be some backlash to all this insanity. Because once the Liberal Democrats start drawing up proscription lists, you really know they've taken the biscuit.